Welcome to this Inform7 programming tutorial. I'm Dennis Jerz. I'm teaching a digital storytelling course at Seton Hill University. This video is not going to try to teach you to play interactive fiction. Instead, this video is going to teach you how to program a simple interactive fiction game. Inform7 at inform7.com. I'll let you explore that on your own if you want, but the main thing that I want us to do is just take us here to the download page, and I want you to download the programming environment that you'll be using to create your interactive fiction games. There are versions for Mac and Windows and a few other systems as well. When you start Inform7, you will see a screen like this. I'm going to start a new project. Click the, just go ahead and click through with the defaults. You'll have to name your project. Just call it, give it a meaningful name. How about this? Give it a meaningful name, and now we see this environment over here. This space is where you'll type your code. Over here right now, there's the documentation is visible. I really love this manual. It's thorough, it's comprehensive. I will say this manual is not designed to teach people who don't know how to program. It's really designed to help people who already know how to program and to teach them how to program in Inform7. So hence this tutorial is trying to get you up to speed a little bit where you might find this very exhaustive manual more useful than it would be for a beginner. What I want to do is show you, this is the game that we're going to create in this tutorial. And just watch as I play along. I'll talk my way through it and you'll see how it works out. So the game starts, nothing there, humps Peter. He and the others all troop out again. Seems a bit silly to stay. The door to the wardrobe is sure to be locked. Wardrobe, an interactive fiction by C.S. Lewis and D.G. Jerz. And then here's a bunch of bibliographical stuff that Inform7 provides for you automatically. Spare room, quite empty except for one big wardrobe and a dead blue bottle on the windowsill. Many of these passages are just taken directly from C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So we can type examine wardrobe. We can open wardrobe. X is short for examine. X coats. There's nothing you like so much as the smell and feel of fur. Enter wardrobe. You step into the wardrobe and get in among the coats. Leaving the door open, of course, because it is very foolish to shut oneself into any wardrobe. You find another row of coats behind the first. You take a step further in, then 2 or 3 steps. Now the coats feel rougher. Why, it's just like the branches of trees, you say. And is that snow under your feet? Snowy wood. You're in the middle of a wood at nighttime. With snow under your feet and snowflakes falling through the air, to the west, you can see the open doorway of the wardrobe. To the east, you see a distant light. Well, let's go toward that distant light. East, you glimpse distant daylight through the dark trunks to the west. To the east, the ground becomes rough and rocky. You can see a lamppost here. Examine lamppost. Examining the lamppost, as you stand there looking at it, wondering what to do next, you hear a pitter-patter of feet. A very strange person steps out from among the trees. An examine person. From the waist upward, he is like a man, but his legs are shaped like a goat, and instead of feet, he has goat's hoofs. I type look, and now it says, instead of just you can see a lamppost, now it says you can see a fawn and a lamppost. So that's just the very beginning of an interactive fiction game, and in this tutorial I'm going to walk you through the steps for how to make this game. So let's file, new project, click through with the defaults. I'll call this a tutorial 1, create it, and here we go. So to start programming in Inform7, what we need is a room for the player to start in. And I'm going to start off with now, it may seem a little bit redundant that you have to tell Inform7 that the spare room is a room, but Inform7 really doesn't know what's on the left of this sentence. I could say a watermelon is a room. and it runs the game. And here I am, you know, Inform7 conceptually thinks of me as inside a watermelon. But what I am telling it is that the spare room is my starting place. In this starting place, Inform7 already comes with a fairly complex universe construct. And by that I mean, is I can already jump. I can examine me. I can sing. I can take inventory. I can kill myself. Well, I say I can do all those things, and by that I mean Inform7 recognizes that I'm trying to do these things, but in this plain vanilla world, it's basically giving me nonsense, bland reactions. You create an interesting world by replacing the blandness by providing your own content. So let's start with a description of the spare room. We run it. And now the spare room, quite empty except for one big wardrobe and a dead blue bottle on the windowsill. Now, one little note, a convention of Inform7, interactive fiction in general, is to capitalize the titles of rooms so that this room is capitalized. When it's capital and bold, it stands out a little bit more, and that's almost like a chapter heading or something like that. It lets you know the space where you are, and that can be very helpful. Now, this text right here, Inform7 is not smart enough to take this text and allow me to do something sensible. I've mentioned the windowsill out here. I can't open window because even though Inform7, the word window exists in the game world, I haven't created any kind of object that Inform7 will use to contain the behavior of the window. Even though you and I are smart enough to realize that if there's a windowsill, you ought to be able to look out of window, but Inform7 is not smart enough to figure that out. If looking out the window at this point were important, then I could implement the code to do that. But the blue bottle and the windowsill are just not all that interesting. We can do this. We can say, do a dead blue bottle is scenery in the spare room. And now when I examine blue bottle, the game world at least recognizes that it exists. I can also do and a windowsill are scenery in the spare room. And now, instead of saying I don't see any window here, it still won't let me open the window because I haven't told it that the window is something that you can open. But at least the game world reacts to the world window. It's a good idea to keep to a minimum the number of objects you mention in your room descriptions because the player will want to interact with every object that you create. So now I can try to... Why wouldn't want to? You might do something like this. I can take this default message. I didn't type anywhere that's hardly portable. Inform7 knows if you try taking something that's scenery, it will always respond with that's hardly portable. Let's do this. Instead of okay. Now, we get a little bit of character interaction. We get a sense that we're playing somebody who doesn't like bugs, and Edmund is somebody that this character thinks would like bugs. So that's an example of how we can add a little bit of personality to the game world. But we still haven't created the most important thing in this room. Let's do a wardrobe is in the spare room. Wonderful. Now we've got a wardrobe. Well, can see nothing special about it. Well, of course we want to open the wardrobe. I have to teach Inform7 that the wardrobe is something that I want to be able to open. So I'm going to say it is an openable container in the spare room. And if we hit replay, now we see, oh, well, examine the wardrobe was empty. Previously, it just said there's nothing special about the wardrobe. Now it says the wardrobe was already open. Well, I want to start the game with the wardrobe closed. So I'm going to call it a closed openable container in the spare room. And now, when the wardrobe is closed, I see nothing special about it. I open it, and now it says the wardrobe is empty. There are a couple other things we can do. Let's do the description of the wardrobe is, this is a bit of text taken from the novel. It's the kind that has a big looking glass in the door. Let's replay that now. And now, when I examine the wardrobe, it says it's the kind that has a big looking glass in the door. Great. So, something that we're missing, in the game that I showed you, there was a little bit of stuff where, if you remember, Peter was talking to the others saying nothing is in here. Let's we can do that here. We can really do it anywhere in the game world. When play begins, say, here's a little prologue. We'll just see where that goes. So that's where the prologue goes. The prologue text is this. If I click run, oh, I've got an error. Here's the reason why. When I pasted it with an extra quotation mark. I want to delete that quotation mark, and now it works. Missing quotation marks, missing commas. Watch what happens if I forget that comma. I get an error message. Problem. It won't say, hey, Dumbo, put the comma after begins. It's not that smart. But clicking on this will take you to the line that has the error. And anything that I type here will make that red bar go away. I didn't fix the error just by typing a space bar. I need to insert that comma right there. And now when we run it again, we don't have that problem. Okay, so now we have this bit of opening text, and that works perfectly nicely. You may have noticed, however, the spare room up here mentioned, quite empty except for one big wardrobe and a dead blue bottle on the windowsill. You can see a wardrobe here. It's kind of redundant to mention the wardrobe here and also have this, you can see a wardrobe here. So remember how I made the blue bottle and the windowsill turn into scenery? I'm going to say the wardrobe is scenery. And we'll run that again. And now we only mention the wardrobe once, but I can examine wardrobe, and it's the kind that has a big looking glass in the door. Great. So now when I open wardrobe, now I can search wardrobe, but the wardrobe is empty. Let's put something in the wardrobe. Let's type some long fur coats are inside the wardrobe. The concept of being inside is something that Inform7 is smart enough to understand. This one sentence has created an object called long fur coats and placed it inside the object called wardrobe. Run that, and now we open wardrobe. You open the wardrobe revealing some long fur coats. Notice I didn't type out what happens when you open the wardrobe. Inform7 is smart enough to understand the concept of if something is inside a closed container and you open the closed container and there's light, then you should be able to see what's inside that closed container. It's actually pretty smart. If I close, well, if I take coats, now I'm carrying the long fur coats. I can close wardrobe, inventory, I'm carrying the coats. I can drop coats. Now I'm not carrying anything. And now in the room, you can see some long fur coats. So nowhere over here in the source code do I describe whether there are coats on the floor or not, or whether the coats are inside the wardrobe or not. Inform7 will handle all that. Okay, let's make the coats a little bit more interesting. The description of the coats is long. Be careful there. Long for coats is there's nothing you like so much as the smell and feel of fur. So run this. Examine coats. Close the wardrobe. The game world does not think the coats exist. There we go. The coats exist again. Now, I don't want Lucy, or our protagonist, to be able to take the coats. So I'm going to say the coats are fixed in place. Rerun it. And now we can still interact. Let's try taking the coats. Now this says they're fixed in place. Notice Inform7 is smart enough that when I said some long fur coats, it's treating it as plural. If I just said long fur coats are fixed in place and I run it over again, it simply says that's fixed in place. So I'm going to say some long fur coats, and that will make Inform7 say they are fixed in place. Okay, so it's one of the ways that Inform7 is surprisingly smart in some areas, though like any computer programming situation, it's very stupid in that it will only do what you tell it in other situations. Okay, so now when let's little practice here. Let's open wardrobe, enter wardrobe. Inform7 provided this you get into the wardrobe text. I want it to be a little bit more dramatic than that. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to write I replay this. Look at this. There, see? My problem was I didn't write the word say. That's going to be a common mistake. Happens to me sometimes too. Okay. Now when we open wardrobe, enter wardrobe, here we have this special text here. Let's make it a little bit more meaningful than that. And we'll start with you step in the wardrobe and get in among the coats. This get in among the coats is a little bit more personal. It's more characteristic of what our protagonist, Lucy, is going to do if you know the story. Now, I'm going to expand this description a little bit more. Rerun that a bit more. Now, you step into the wardrobe and get in among the coats, leaving the door open, of course, because it is very foolish to shut oneself into any wardrobe you find another row of coats behind the first. I don't like that punctuation. I'm going to say that's better. I want to make that a complete sentence. And now I'm going to add a paragraph break. And what that does, you'll see it just kind of breaks up the flow of the text a little bit more. online readers tend to get tired very early, very quickly. So having big, long blocks of text will kind of tire them out and sometimes freak them out. So I want to keep these things very short. I'll go on, and I've got a couple other things to here. And again, this is sort of borrowing from and working with the scene as described in the book. Spacing's a little weird there. That's good. There we go. I'm going to hit, so I'm kind of here, you can see what's going on. Make this window a little bit wider. I want this paragraph break to be over kind of flush on the left. Just part of the Inform7 convention of writing. Okay. And now we have this transition that makes the game, changes the pacing a little bit more than simply you climb into the wardrobe. Okay, so now if I get out of the wardrobe and back into the wardrobe, I get this same message again. Again, is that snow under your feet? Well, again, I haven't created the snow yet. So there's even though I've mentioned a snow here, this is text that's simply eye candy for the reader. If snow were important, I would need to create a scenery object of snow. I can leave that to you if you're interested in doing something like that. Now, the next thing that I need to do is I need to create the snowy woods where Lucy will be transported to from this magic portal. And we'll do this. Snowy wood is a room. And I'll copy some text that I already wrote. And yeah, so when we run this now, if we run this now, we still haven't moved the player. The snowy wood exists, but I'm going to do this when it says after entering the wardrobe. See this comma right there? I need to change that to a colon because I want two separate things to happen after entering the wardrobe. I want to say this long passage and then a semicolon, and I'm going to add the command, which is now the player is in snowy wood. How about I type that conventionally? So this is the first time that we've done this here. Previously, I've simply done one thing at a time. Up here, when play begins, comma, say. Now I'm giving a different condition. After entering the wardrobe, colon, two things are going to happen. We're going to say this, and then we're going to move the player into the snowy wood. Let's run that and see how that goes. Okay. Oh, we have the exit. See, the exit doesn't work anymore. The exit before worked when we were in the wardrobe. Probably easier. Why don't I just click here on go? All right, so we'll run this again. Open wardrobe. Enter wardrobe. And now, blah, 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 magic happens and we are in the snowy wood. Now, my description of this passage tells the reader, to the west you can see the open doorway of a wardrobe, to the east you can see a distant light. But if I try going east or west, I haven't created any way for the player to do that. So we have to do the additional work of telling the player, giving the player the words to read, but also giving the computer the code that we need to work with. And what we want to do here is do the forest clearing is east of snowy wood, and the spare room is west. Spare room is west of snowy. So let's see how that goes. What do we got here? What do we got here? Delete that for now. Doesn't like that. Works fine. Okay. I wonder what that was. Okay. All right. So now we need to create the forest clearing is east of there we go. Let's try that. Okay. So now from the snowy wood, we can go east to the forest clearing, west to the snowy wood, and west back to the spare room. Let's describe the forest clearing. And let's put let's see how that goes. Wardrobe. Enter wardrobe. To the east, you see a distant light. Well, let's go east, and now I can see a lamppost here. Same lamppost, nothing special about the lamppost. Well, let's give something special about the lamppost. Now, why is there a lamppost in the middle of a wood? Now, notice this spare room text is kind of, but just kind of been inserting it and moving along here. I'm going to move this closer up to snowy wood and keep it there. Just try to keep all the snowy wood room directions together so they're kind of in one place. And now, why is there a lamppost in the middle of a wood? Well, this is going to be something that a lot of people will probably end up with. I'm going to type examine lamppost or x lamp. Let's make this game world a little bit more forgiving by coming up with some synonyms for lamppost. Understand lamppost. In the book, the word lamppost is always hyphenated, but let's add a version of it without a hyphen. I don't think anybody would type lamppost with no hyphen, but hey, let's be generous. And up here, we said to the east, you see a distant light. I'm going to make it so that if somebody remembers the word light, let's make that work as well. So now, when we replay it, what do we got here? Understand. I didn't finish this. As a lamppost. There we go. Understand list of synonyms as the thing you want these synonyms to point to. So we've got the object lamppost. We want the player to be able to use any of these words and have the game interpret that as you try to interact with the lamppost. So let's try that again. There we go. Okay, so now the word lamp works, and any of these other synonyms would work as well. Okay, so now what we want is the first time that we examine the lamppost, we want the fawn to appear, Mr. Tumnus. And one way we can do that is try it with this. We can do, well, first what we need to do, of course, is we need to create the fawn Mr. Tumnus. Okay. Inform7 has a very basic grammatical understanding of gender simply because it needs to use words like him and her occasionally. So it's smart enough to understand gender, and man means a person who is male. Person, loosely speaking, a fawn would count as a person, so might a robot or a dog or something. Anything that's really animate in this world would count as a person. But we'll use a man. And more text from the book. Okay. Now, what we need to do is after examining the lamp post colon, a couple things are going to happen. We're going to type some text, and then we will type this text, and I'm going to move the fawn to the forest clearing. Let's see how that goes. Now, the fawn is here, and if we look, then we see a fawn and a lamppost here. Okay, so the sum text, I'm just pointing out to you that I can type anything in here. The thing that makes the game world move the fawn is this line. This thing here that says sum text is just something pleasant for the reader to read. This stuff doesn't actually make any change to the game world. So let's run that. Now we see, after I examine the lamp, as you stand there looking at it, wondering what to do next, you hear a pitter-patter of feet. Very strange person. Oh, wait a minute. Examine lamp. As you stand there looking at it, wondering what to do next. Well, the fawn is here. Examine the lamp. As you stand here looking at it, wondering what... So every time I examine the lamp, this bit of text fires off that moves the fawn here. That gets really old. Fortunately, in Inform7, there's a really easy way to solve this problem. I want this to happen after examining the lamppost the first time. We'll do it this way now. We will open wardrobe, enter wardrobe, go east, examine the lamp, examine the lamp. Now, this stuff only happens once. Okay? I could do the second time. I could do the fifth time. Anything that you want there, that's one of the many surprising ways that Inform7 is fairly smart. Okay, so at this point in the video, the code that I've walked us through pretty much recreates the functionality of the game that I demonstrated for you a little bit earlier. And but there's actually still quite a bit that we can do to make this game a little bit more interactive. Watch, first of all, how easy it is for me to break this game. I can examine wardrobe, the kind that has a big looking glass in the door. Great. Well, how about I open door? Uh-oh. Inform7 is stupid. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Even though the word door appears in these quotation marks, Inform7 doesn't understand that there's a door, that the wardrobe is a thing that has a door. It knows it's something that you can open and close. I've said it's an openable container. But I need to add this code that says understand door as the wardrobe. And now you open the wardrobe, revealing some long fur coats. You open the door. Now the door, now typing open door will trigger this response. It mentions a big looking glass. Well, of course it doesn't understand that. Oh, wait a minute, maybe it's because of the hyphen? Let's try. No, it still doesn't understand that. Okay, well, let's do this. We can say a looking glass is part of the wardrobe. And now, notice here, it didn't get looking glass with hyphen, but looking dash glass it does get. So let's that's the looking glass. Now, okay, now it works. Now, there actually isn't anything special about the looking glass. So I'm just going to leave it. I'm just going to leave it like that. There's nothing that much to say about it. There's a few things that I can do though. Let's already open the door. Enter. Okay. When you enter the wardrobe, watch what happens. In the book, Lucy first goes into the wardrobe and then she goes a little bit further and goes a little bit further. I did quite a lot. I made a lot of stuff happen as a result of this enter command. I must say, when playing this game, I wouldn't feel terribly magical. I typed enter and suddenly I'm in the next room. There was no sense of something magical happening, a transformation happening. I remember as a kid reading this scene and being thrilled to see the way that C.S. Lewis gradually introduces the fact that Lucy is encountering something unexpected. You learn quite a bit about her character when she decides not to turn back, but plunges ahead to see what's beyond. And this version of it completely robs us from that power that comes from Lucy being a little girl deciding to charge into the unknown and do something. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, I'm going to add a little bit of description. I'm going to do, let's go to the row of coats. And we're going to restart. Go back to the beginning. Okay. Yes, I'm sure I want to restart. Okay. Open wardrobe. Oh, we can do open door now. And when I examine coats, there's nothing you like so much as the smell and feel of fur. How about this? I'm going to add behind the row of long fur coats, there's a row of rougher coats. And now, of course, if I type examine rougher coats, the game world doesn't believe that they exist because I haven't created them. So let me create a row of rougher coats. And now, you see nothing special about the row of rougher coats. Well, let's give it something special. Behind the rougher coats are some bristly things. Now, I think you can figure out where I'm going with this. The description of the bristly things is why it's just like the branches of trees. Okay, now, previously, I did this You find another row of coats behind the first. You take a step further in, then 2 or 3 steps. Now the coats feel rougher. Why? It's just like the branches of trees, you say. And is that snow under your feet? How about this? We could go on and examine snow, but I think by this time we've made the player keep exploring, keep making Lucy explore, and we're acting out Lucy as a curious person, and it makes this game world become a lot more alive. So let's remove this progression where all this came out at once, and now instead of making the player automatically transported to the snowy wood just after entering the wardrobe, let's do see how that goes. After exam, typo, examining, did I get that right? I think I did. Okay. So now, well, we need to do these commands over again because I changed a couple things. So open door, examine coats. Oh, okay, well, examine rougher coats, examine things. Now, I've made it in. And, oh, no, wait a minute, I did the wrong thing. I don't actually want the player to go to forest clearing. That's where the lamppost is. There's a transitional place called Snowy Wood. That's where I want her to end up. So let's run that again. We got Snowy Wood. There we go. Okay. So now we are in this transitional space, the Snowy Wood, which is here you can still see the open doorway of the wardrobe, and then you can go forward to the distant light. If I were to go back to the west and end up in the spare room again, I probably enter the wardrobe. If Lucy enters the wardrobe a second time, she would expect something to be very, very different. So I would probably want to change this with using the after entering the wardrobe for the first time. How about do this? Entering the wardrobe for the first time. So the first time this will trigger, every other time we enter the wardrobe, it'll be this one. Okay, so we'll do that, and whoops. Aha. Say, so I told you this is a common mistake, comma, there we go, say, there we go, okay. Enter wardrobe, exit. Okay, all right, the magic is gone. All right, I think that's a good enough start that gives you a sense of how you can take a purely narrative, long series of things that happened. Remember, previously it was you enter the wardrobe and then a whole bunch of things happened and suddenly you're in the snowy wood. Now, getting to the snowy wood requires a bit more effort, and I think it makes the transition a bit more sort of narratively significant because the pace is a little bit slower. Okay, so in this first tutorial, we've gone through the steps of starting from 0 and working up a simple game with a handful of locations and a handful of objects. And you can see the difference between long passages of text that announce things that happen and shorter chunks of text that unfold the events in reaction to something that you do.